Keep your labels off of me. Today we're going to talk about cancel culture on We Boutta Get Deep. So I'm going to play my intro, but this is a new one I have coming. I know there's a typo in it, so don't try to call me out on the typo. But I just want to play it so I can get the feel for it. I started doing workshops and doing groups where I'm getting up in front of others, like outside of the gym setting, and talking about resilience and perseverance and goal setting and vision and taking action.
You should know what 1 hour of your time is worth. You should know the value that you bring to the marketplace. You know what your passion is.
Starts with clarity of vision. If you don't have the clarity of vision, whatever next thing you get, you're not going to see it through because you don't have the clarity of vision. So the point of my pain was being told you will never run or jump again. And all that stuff, I was like, you know what? Like, I want to be able to take this even bigger.
If you know why you do what you do, you have to know how to charge for what you do. That's how you're going to change your life, and that's how you're going to leave a legacy for your children and your family. You got to know your worth.
Tell me that music's not hot. Gives me chills. Gives me chills every time. So I like it. You know, I got to add a couple more things to it. We got to get that typo fixed, but that's going to be the new intro. I might shorten it a little bit too for the podcast, but that's going to be mainly on my website. So for my speaking gigs. All right, so back to business. So today we're going to be discussing cancel culture. See, my daughter pointed out the other day that I clap a lot. And so it's one of those things I think I subconsciously do. So now I'm kind of paying more attention to it. And she's absolutely right. I definitely do clap too much. So I'm going to try not to. Because I don't know how that sounds on your end, but I'm picking up on it. All right, so anyways. So cancel culture to me is basically when somebody disagrees with your opinion. That's pretty much what it is. And then they launch an all-out attack on you and your opinion. Well, fortunately for me, I have very thick skin and a strong spine. So I have no problem voicing my opinion on things because I really don't care what other people think. I should say I really don't care what the other people who disagree with me think. Because not everyone's going to agree with me because we are all blessed with the ability to choose. So if we speak about police brutality and I have a certain stance, someone else can have a different stance and neither one of us has to be right or wrong. Like I can speak through my lived experience, you can speak through your lived experience, and then we can, have coffee and toast after we have our discussion. That's an art form that is lost nowadays. It's like, if you don't agree with me, then you're this and you're that, and what you're saying is this, and you're this label, you're that label. And that's all a load of crap. It's like, just look at what I said at face value, and that's all it is. We don't have to dissect it any further. All right, so I do have a guest with me to have this conversation, and she owns a chocolate and nut business in Nashville. Right there in itself makes her cool. And really good for this conversation. She has a great Southern accent and a nice smile. So help me welcome Tracy Page to the show.
Good morning.
How we doing?
Doing great. How are you, Robert?
Good. I think you had the audience at chocolate.
Wow. Yeah, people usually like to see me coming. I do like your new intro, by the way.
Thank you.
And I love the message of know your worth. And it's not just financial, in my opinion. It's about your value as a person and the value of your opinion, which is a nice segue into what we're talking about today.
Yes, absolutely. Because as I stated, that's definitely a lost art. Because we have our mainstream media who likes to push certain narratives, whether it's left wing or right wing, because they both do it. Sorry, settle down, Jennifer. This is this one's got a potty mouth on her, and I used to always say to her, "Settle down, Comstock." So she got me on there. Totally stole my train of thought. But I really forgot where I was going with that. All right, so let me start over. Oh yes. So saying, so just because you have a difference of opinion, that doesn't mean that other person is stupid or they're uneducated or they need to get this or you're this supporter, you're that supporter. It's like, no, we just disagree. That's it. Like that's all that means. So what in your definition is cancel culture?
Well, it saddens me. It truly saddens me, because one of the things that in preparing for your show today, Robert, one of the things I wanted to talk about is my little friend, Pepe Le Pew. And this just really got me, because 5-year-old kids can understand that Pepe Le Pew is not trying to rape the cat Penelope. This is an example of satirical comedy. And one of my favorite college professors, Dr. David Lee, who's a renowned poet, said, always start by defining your terms. So satirical comedy is a form of satire in which the writer uses comic elements to expose the realities of a situation, problem, or societal issue. So the thing that makes him funny, he's not a rapist, and I will never, ever allow anyone to cancel my love for Pepe, because he is a hopeless romantic. Never in the cartoons does he try to rape or physically assault Penelope. But what makes it funny for all of us as viewers is the irony of the fact that we all know that he stinks because he's a skunk.
Yep.
So even though Penelope wants to love Pepe, the smell, if you have ever watched the cartoons, the smell makes her run away from him. She's not running because he's trying to rape her. She's running because of the smell. And we as viewers and children all know that. And that's what makes it so funny, is because he's so oblivious to the fact that he stinks because he's a skunk. So that one really got me. I mean, you got Mr. Potato Head. You've got all these.
Yep.
To me,
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
It's
Aunt
absurd.
Jemima.
It's absolutely absurd. And one of the things that about cancel culture that to me is very saddening and disturbing is that people have no sense of humor anymore. And I know a very successful comic, a guy who said, I can't even go perform anymore. And I didn't do racist jokes. I didn't do black-white jokes. I didn't do any of that stuff. But people are so touchy that I'm afraid I'm going to step on a landmine and they're going to show up at my house, So it's gotten to the point of hysteria.
Yes.
And that's what's disturbing to me is, this is just entertainment. It's a cartoon. It's a caricature of, there's a better view. It's a caricature of something that's funny. He loves this cat. He stinks. He doesn't know he stinks. So we're all in on the joke and we get to laugh at it. So yeah, it's, that to me is just absolutely insane. That's where I draw the line. I mean, all of it makes no sense. And definitely physical assault is no laughing matter. Rape is no laughing matter. I'm not even talking about those issues. So don't anybody get your tail in a knot and send Robert, comments about that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a cartoon about love and humor. Because Pepe Le Pew's lovable. We know he loves the cat, but he doesn't know he stinks. So I think I've made my point. It's satiric comedy, it's irony, and he is delightfully oblivious to the fact that he stinks, which is what makes it funny.
See, and it's political too. Like that's why this is all coming up to the forefront now. Because I know when I was growing up, I knew the difference between funny and hate.
Yes.
Like we didn't have these platforms telling us what's hate and what's not hate. It's like, no, that's not hate. That's funny. Like it's okay to say something that's funny. And now if we'll take race and ethnicity for an example, like there is things within the Black community, within the Asian community, within the Hispanic community, in the white community that you say things about each other that's funny. Because it's on point. Like there are things we can point about blacks that they're right on point. We do that. It's funny. It's like whites do this. It's funny. Like I say every winter, I was like, you are never gonna see a black man in a Speedo with no shirt on and shorts running. You won't see it, but you see white people do it all the time. It's funny, right? It's not offensive. I'm not being
Yes.
racist. It's fact, right? It's just a funny thing that happens. But if you say something like that, although I'm saying it publicly now, but like if you say something like that, you post it on Twitter or something, the Twitter mob is gonna destroy you. But it's like just because you may disagree with it or it might hurt your feelings, then block me. It's that simple, right? Just block me. If I see things I don't want to see, I just simply block that person.
Yeah.
How do you handle it?
Well, the irony of what a certain arena of our society is trying to cancel is because they say it doesn't promote diversity. However, I have a perfect case in point, if I may share it.
Yeah.
Okay, the city I grew up in the West has the Red Men as the high school mascot. For over, I think it's like 70 something years, the Red Men were the mascot. Well, someone came in from a very liberal state, got on the school board and said that's racist. So it caused a whole big problem. And there are Native American, I'm part Native American, I'm part Navajo. I was born in Arizona. So there are tribes in that area. And they said, look, we like the Red Men. It's not a problem for us. We think it's always been a symbol of pride, of heritage, of strength, of courage, of bravery. And that's how everybody who went to my high school felt about it. Then this one person comes in and wants to cancel it. And it went so far as for this person to say, we've had reports of a Native American girl being bullied. No reports surfaced. No police reports surfaced. No other evidence surfaced. And this girl would not talk about anything ever happening to her. So as a result of this one woman's opinion, all this heritage and all these people that were so proud of this, I'm a Red Man from this high school, they took that away. So here's the irony of it, Robert. If you're trying to promote diversity, saying that all cultures are great, all cultures should be equal, all cultures should be represented, then why are you taking the Native American history and heritage away from this area of the West? Because that's who lived here first, were Native Americans.
Yes.
But, for instance, if you have people standing on a stage and you see there's a white person, a black person, a Native American, and Asian, you would say, what color is that person? Well, they're a white man, they're a black man, they're an indigenous Native American Red Man, they're Asian, Is that offensive? No, that's just what our society calls people. I'm a white woman to most of the world who doesn't know that I'm part Native American. But, the irony of that, of we all want to be diverse and nobody wants to be singled out for being different, is completely counter to what they're saying, is that we're all different. We all have these different ethnicities, background. We should all accept each other. Then why are you canceling the Native American aspect of this area, this history?
Yes. Let me jump in quick, because a good comment just popped in. It says in the process, by over promoting diversity, they are canceling individualism. That's
right on.
You couldn't have said that any better.
No, that is
any better.
So precisely and well put. Thank you for commenting, because that's exactly it.
Yes. So
exactly it.
I commented on a thread, whether you like it or not. Candace Owens had an interview with Hawk Newsom, the New York Black Lives Matter chapter leader, and it was about systemic racism. And I had just commented that all anyone needs to succeed in this country or in this world, I said, is a vision, an action plan to carry out the vision, and the persistence to see it through.
Yes.
That was all I said. And people were trying to drag me through the mud in the comments. I got called anti-black. I got called I'm catering to white people. I was like, by saying all you need is a vision, an action plan, and persistence.
It's
Like,
completely irrational.
is that a bad message to send to people of color who may feel oppressed? It's like that's all you need to break free whatever's holding you back. Like that's it. When I tell you, people were getting nasty with me. People that quote unquote look like me. It's like why can't we spread a positive message? Like any black person that spreads a positive message to the black community, we're somehow race traitors and anti-black.
Well, obviously, I can't speak to that, but that's a very good point, Robert. And I'd like you, as a black man, to expound on that, because I don't get that. See, I'm a woman, and I'm part Native American. So, do they want me to feel that as a woman I'm oppressed, or no? I just because I'm white, I don't have white privilege. I've had to work for everything that I have accomplished very hard. I worked 3 jobs at one point to support my dream. And that's exactly what you're saying. You're only as oppressed as you will allow yourself to be, because our spirit in us, whether you want to be an entrepreneur, a doctor, a lawyer, a great school teacher, a college professor, whatever profession, the best plumber in town, whatever profession you choose, it's up to you to make that happen and to surmount these obstacles. And it's not because of the color of your skin. Now, I know that there are I don't even want to get into that whole quagmire of the other topic, but I'd like to hear you talk about that a little bit more as a black man on, your experience with that.
I actually want to boomerang that, because I actually do want to hear your thoughts on it, because too many times, white people, Caucasians, whatever we're gonna say, are afraid to share their opinions out of fear of being labeled racist. But just like I am a man, 95% of my clients are female, and what I tell people is like, oh well, you're not a woman. I said, yeah, but I'm human, and so are they. You know what I mean? It's like just because I'm a man doesn't mean I can't help a woman through whatever she's going through, because I'm a human being just like you are. And all humans have common needs and have common bonds, and so I am qualified to speak on women's issues. Just because I'm a man doesn't mean I need to just shut up and let women handle it, and vice versa. Just because your skin is lighter than mine doesn't mean you can't have an outside opinion. There are many white people who are very active within the black community, or just have feelings towards it. You know what I mean? So I actually would like to hear your thoughts on it. Then I'll give mine.
Okay. Well, another aspect of this cancel culture is it's so negative. It is so negative. And on social media and the news, I can only take so much, because by my nature, I'm a very positive person. And if we, as human beings, I don't care who you are, who you love, what your color is, why can't we be supportive and positive of each other? And, instead of tearing each other down, exactly to your point, Robert, we are all humans, and we all have the same basic needs: food, clothing, shelter. And if we are fortunate enough to have the ability and the opportunity that we sometimes make ourselves, the opportunity, sometimes it's there, but do something with it. Do something positive. When even during the pandemic, when I'd go to the grocery store, I thought, okay, this person is here working to help all of us out. They're risking their health, as far as we knew, to help all of us. I should be appreciative of this person because they have to pay rent. They may have children, so I would find something positive to say to that cashier or, the shelf stalker. And I could just see how it lifted their spirits. And it's not because they're in a servitude position. It's because they're a human in a human condition like we all are. Why can't we just, and I don't mean to sound like a Pollyanna, because that's not my point. My point is, find something, at least one thing positive to say to someone, and you'll be amazed at how that boomerangs back to you and makes you feel good. Inspire somebody.
Yeah.
You know, get your fix from being positive, and you'll be amazed how your life will transform.
See, I want to answer that question because you said, why can't we? Because the government needs us fighting each other for them
Exactly.
to keep power. And you can just turn on the TV and just see there is far more. It's not even close. There's far more good that goes on in this world than bad.
Yes.
But you turn on that TV and all you see is negativity, negativity, negativity. You know, it's like I've done volunteer work within multiple police precincts in multiple states, and there's a lot of good men and women in there. But you get those bad apples that it's international news, and people think it's such a widespread problem to keep people fighting. And then you get the people like me who say, yeah, the bad ones, prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law, but
Absolutely.
you can't lump them all together. Just like if you get a school teacher who sleeps with a student, that doesn't mean all teachers do it. If you get a black person who commits a crime, that doesn't make us all criminals.
Exactly.
But that's the way the TV displays everything, you know, and it keeps us all fighting. As long
Yes.
as we're all fighting, we're not paying attention to them and the sneaky shit that they're doing behind closed doors.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's why all the stuff is exacerbated, and it takes people like us to come out here and have rational discussions about topics that some people are afraid to touch.
Yes.
Because I know from the black community, I take a lot of heat for my stances on stuff. But I was raised not to just see my skin color. Like I say this on almost every show, but my father told us, you know, people will see the color of your skin. It's up to you to help them see past it. He didn't say blame white people. He didn't say blame slavery. He didn't say blame any of this stuff. He's like, it's up to you. You know, they moved us out of the city, and now they're like, go make something of your life. Like,
Yes.
That's how I was raised. So that's what I put out into the world. And then people say, oh, you're just saying the stuff that the white people want you to say. So this has done, like, when did I ever mention race? Like, all I'm saying, if you're stuck in a rut, it's up to you to get out of that rut. And then I think it's better for me to take the hits on Twitter and on my YouTube page. I'll take those nasty comments if it helps people get out of their rut.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, and thank you for doing that, because some people can be really nasty and toxic and poisonous, you know. It makes me wonder what their end game is. Why do they want us all
Power.
pitting against each other? Well, then, you know, they're allowing all these other people to come into the country. They don't COVID test them, but we have to wear masks. We're all supposed to be vaccinated. They don't, to my knowledge, if this is incorrect, and, you know, correct it. But they don't vaccinate people coming into our country. And I'm all for legal immigration, and I'm all for helping people. But if they're going to make us, and I mean citizens, established Americans, regardless of your color, if they want all of us to be vaccinated, then why are they endangering our health and allowing people to just come into this country and without being vaccinated? That's one thing. And why do they want us all fighting? And it's exactly what you said. My opinion, and this is just my opinion, you don't have to slam it if you disagree, is that if you get the masses fighting each other, just like you said, we're not paying attention to what, you know, smoke and mirrors. Look at this, look at this, look at this, now do this over here. Mm-hmm. Why are they doing that? There is no common goal as Americans. And that's one thing that I've always disliked about our political system, is it Democrat, Republican, and, you know, they're always opposing forces. No, we're all Americans. Why can't we support and take care of veterans who fought for us? Why can't we help the less fortunate? Why can't we promote entrepreneurship and business and pursuing your dreams? No, they don't want that. It's very disturbing, because it's counter to everything this country was founded upon. And
yes,
go ahead.
See, it's all about power. It's all about power because you have the two political parties with two clearly different agendas. So if and people have allegiance to either one. And me, I'm an independent, so I talk trash about both sides. And so you know, like so for someone who's very diehard left, they don't want to hear anything that the right has to say, and vice versa. If you're a far right winger, you don't want nothing to do with anything that anyone on the left says, even if it makes sense. Like just think about last year with that second stimulus. Neither side budged, and of course, right blames left blames right, but neither side budged as people were committing suicide, people were turning to drugs, people were losing their businesses, they were losing their houses. You know, like people were struggling left and right, but they had that stalemate because neither one wanted to give the other side the victory ahead of the election. You know, like it's all nonsense. And even with the vaccines, and I can care less if people are pro or anti, that's your choice. But back in October of last year, ahead of the election, Joe Biden was on doing one of his addresses saying that Trump was being reckless. He's like, this is too fast. It takes years to produce a vaccine, and just saying all of these things against it. And then he won, and then it's vaccinate everybody. It's like now it's good, and I'm just slamming it to be done. It's like, and that's the part of politics I don't like is they just say what needs to be said to get votes.
Yep.
You know, so that's why they're going to keep us fighting. But I want to jump back for a second because we have another comment here. No, this is Jen. Similarities happen in the LGBTQ community with micro labeling and people getting upset, offended with not saying the correct label. Fact. And even as someone that is part of the community, if I say the wrong thing or disagree with something, I get attacked with those negative comments. I'm sorry, but I don't want to cancel Chick-fil-A. That's the Jennifer.
Good for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you don't go with the mainstream narrative, then something is wrong with you. You know, like that's the whole thing with cancel culture. Like I mentioned earlier with Candace Owens, like she's pretty radical. You know, I gotta say she's pretty radical, and she says a lot. Yeah, she says a lot of things that make me like, I'm not so sure about that. But she also has some good points as well. You know, so it's like if I just completely cancel her because of the parts of her I don't like, then it's like that kind of makes me a hypocrite. Because as I said earlier, some people are gonna resonate with what I say. Some people are gonna hate what I say.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But it's like, so just step into the things that I say that you agree with. And the things that you don't, you can ignore it. So when she goes off on her belittling rampages, I just pay those no mind. Mm-hmm. But there are other times where she sucks me right in. I'm like, she is on point with that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's the downside of canceling people is that you don't get to hear the good stuff because not everybody gets up and just talks trash all the time. Mm-mm. You know what I mean? Yeah, like Donald Trump said a lot of stupid things in his presidency, but he also gave some speeches that were right on point.
Yes.
You know, but just people but the mainstream media says cancel Trump. So now if you just mention Trump, you're like labeled. I had people unfriend me over it just for making a reference. Yeah. I was like, I'm sorry, but that hate is within you.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not my problem. That hate's in you.
Yes, it is.
Right. We have another comment. This last election ensured that the majority was not heard due to the fear of speaking out and getting labeled one side or the other. Mm-hmm. Again, Andy Jones with the fire comments today.
Yeah, both of those comments were really good. You know, within the LBGQ, I don't know if there are any other letters. I'm not being facetious. It's interesting that even within that culture that people are so triggered by certain things. And to me, Robert, this boils down to courage.
Yes.
Have the courage to stand your ground and state your opinion. By doing so, don't harm anybody else. Don't say you're an idiot because you don't believe what I believe. I mean, it's up to you. People are going to do what they're going to do. I'm not here preaching or lecturing. My point is, when we're always talking and we're so rigid in our mindset, we don't learn anything.
Yes.
And you may disagree with everything I say, Robert says, anybody says, but if there's a kernel of truth in it, don't let your pride or your ego or, you know, just being stubborn prevent you from taking that next step and saying, you know, you may have a point. Let me think about that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
one person said, sometimes all you need to say is fair enough. Fair enough.
True.
That means you don't
Yes.
agree, you don't disagree. Does it, fair enough. And then, be willing to be compassionate. I don't care who you sleep with, who you love, what your color is. We're all human beings. Let's try to take care of each other and be compassionate and still have our own opinions. I mean, would you as a liberal want someone showing up at your house and throwing rocks through it or torching it or, that's just not right. I don't care what your opinion is. That's
Yeah.
just not, that's not
Yeah,
fair.
it's like
and
the
it's not
people
right.
the people that support that. I always say, how would you feel if someone burned your car in your house?
Yes.
Now,
And I lost
now
my
are you
business.
for it?
Yes. I
Yes.
lost my business because of COVID. My 15 years
Wow.
of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, working 3 jobs to build, was on the Food Network, and I still lost my job. I mean, I lost my business because of COVID.
Wow.
So
to hear
yeah,
that.
am I privileged because I'm white? No, I'm a human being, and I suffer because of what COVID did to our world.
Yeah.
So,
It's like,
one thing that's really interesting, Robert, if I may just interject.
yeah, go ahead.
So I thought during COVID, okay, I'm a small business. My business is struggling. It's suffering because of COVID. I may not make it. Here's how my mind works. There have got to be hundreds, if not thousands, of other small businesses in my exact same position. Maybe if I create a website where we as a collective small business community can connect and say, hey, I have 50 pounds of this product. And if you need it, let's work it out. Let's all work together. If there are 4 restaurants that are teetering on the brink of going out, let's find one central location. I'll sell my sandwiches. You sell your stir fry, you sell your whatever. And I sent that to 2 major news networks. I have a website and everything. I sent that to 2 major networks twice.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I've got this tool that might be able to help small businesses survive. This is the web address. Not one peep. Not
Yeah.
one.
To that, later on tonight, I'm going to be on an Australian news station for the 5th time. 5th. I've only been on in the U.S. once.
Wow.
Just once. Yeah. So it's technically their morning show. But and I pitch TV stations around here all the time. I mean, I got put on small segments like when we got closed, the gyms got closed down last November. Like I got on 4 networks there, but that was to speak on the hot topic of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I talk about, whether it's women's empowerment, whether I'm talking about health and wellness, like tonight I'm talking about the power of being vulnerable. But it's like, Australia keeps picking me up. But here, like, it's all about what the narrative is. And before I get into my next point, I want to bring up Steve's comment. So as a veteran of 25 years, it's disappointing to see the way a lot of people have become with intolerance, lack of respect, personal accountability, etc. And to that, because that actually goes right into my next point, is
Great
it's about
comment, Steve.
Yes, it's about emotional mastery. That has become a lost art. It's like if I see something that I don't like, I'm in control of my emotions. It's like I don't have to yell and scream. I don't have to go on a Twitter rant. I don't have to go and break stuff. I see what I don't like, see what I can control about that situation, and I control what I can control. What I can't control, I let go. It's like that's emotional mastery. And a lot of people have lost that art. And especially with the younger kids now, because the way we grew up, it was different. Like we had consequences. Now they stand in a corner and count to 10, and that's their consequence.
Yeah.
And if you get on a sports team and you put forth no effort and you barely play any of the games, you still get a trophy.
Yes.
And that's not real life. So now
No,
those kids are now the young adults, and they have no idea how to deal with adversity.
Mm-hmm.
So then adversity kicks in, and they completely lose it. So it's like our young kids today need guidance.
Yes.
All right, they definitely need guidance, but they're the ones who are really driving this cancel culture. They're like, oh, if we don't like that, then we got to tear it down. It's like,
yes.
No. It's like, why don't you talk to the person and learn? Like the first show I did on this channel, because I have another channel too.
Mm-hmm.
And, yes, Andy, again with another gold one. Hard work is a lost art, absolutely. But we did a debate on critical race theory, and it was myself and my daughter who are against it, and then we had two other people who were for it, who were coincidentally they were white. So it actually worked out well to hear two opposing points of view. But the conversation was so rational. They understood some of our points. We understood some of their points, and we ended it with an action plan. I said, go.
That's awesome.
I said, go to the school in your local area, whether you have kids in it or not, and ask to see the curriculum because they're public records. So it's like one of the kids, I asked him, I was like, so what's being shared in your local area? He's like, oh, I have no idea what they're teaching in school. I said, then how can you take a stance?
Yes.
You're taking a stance by what you see on the mainstream media, and they're not there to educate you. They're there to push their agenda. I said, so when you back off the noise and do your own research and see what some of these schools are actually teaching, it's kind of scary. Like I'm glad my kids are a little older, because if they were still in elementary school, I'd yank them out. Because like it's not the school's job to teach my kids that stuff. That's my job.
Exactly.
That's my job. So like that was my harsh stance on it. But what's your take on the emotional mastery piece?
Well, I think that's a very excellent point, and it's a good way to say it. And to bring in the comment about work being a lost art, I hope not. I hope it's not, because that's the only way this country was established, was a belief in something that even when it's hard and you have to really, really, it's like working out, being an athlete. When you're at that 25th mile, that's when you really have to find it within yourself to push. And getting back to your point about the school curriculums, if it's a nice thought that everybody can win, but that's not the reality of life.
Yes.
And that's, you win some, you lose some. And
yes.
what do you learn from losing? You learn, okay, if that didn't work, see, that's how I got a product into Cracker Barrel, because I was working to get a product into Cracker Barrel. I had an accident. I had fallen. I had a concussion. I was tired of being at home. I couldn't take it anymore because I'm a goer. And I thought, okay, feeling well enough, I'm going to drive and go to Cracker Barrel and see what they don't have. So I had, in the meantime, created a gourmet dog treat. And I noticed all these millions of people travel, stop by Cracker Barrel, have their, pets with them and their RVs with the air conditioning going, whatever. But Cracker Barrel had no pet products. So I went to the buyer and said, I noticed that you don't have any pet products in your stores. I have this product. How about, doing this? Oh, yes, we love that idea. We'll take it. My point being, I had to work at finding a niche. And if I had just given up knocking on the front door and nobody was answering, it's that ingenuity, the creativity of working hard, to the point that was made. Where has that gone? Oh, if I don't like it, I'm just going to give up.
Yeah.
Oh, if it's just easier to sit here and take a paycheck and not work, I'm going to do that. Well, it's very selfish. All of this is very selfish. And we're teaching children that we're not teaching them reality, in my opinion. We're not teaching them the realities of history, good, bad, indifferent.
Yep.
We're not teaching them social skills, good, bad, indifferent. And we're not teaching them how to believe in yourself as an individual, how to build a business. I have not seen anywhere in school curriculums. I'm sure there are some out there. And if you're doing that, this is fantastic. But how are they teaching kids how to even manage the basics of money? Okay, if I have $100 and this X costs me $49.75, that leaves me this much. So I can't have everything else I want until I earn more money. And that you don't appreciate things you don't have to work for. And this whole brainwashing thing is very disturbing, because if I had young kids in school, I would feel the same way. And that puts an unfair burden on parents.
Yeah. And I had posted something a couple weeks ago about, I'll teach my babies to love your babies. Race problem solved.
Amen.
You know what I mean? If you take the
Yes.
political parties out of it, you know, because they ride it, especially on the left. Like they jump right on the backs of BLM and they ride that till the election.
Yep.
Right? Once the election is over, things kind of quiet down. And then you'll watch ahead of the 2022 midterms, all of a sudden there's going to be racial tension again and there's going to be riots again. And that stuff, it doesn't make any sense. Like there's been riots for decades and we have the same stuff. We had a black man in office for 2 terms. We got the same stuff because it's not about the race. It's about the political agenda.
Exactly.
And once people grasp that, then I can step away because there's nothing that I can do in my power to change that. But what I can do is help inspire people to succeed in spite of. So no matter what it is, if you're a member of the LGBT community, okay, you're going to go through XYZ, but this is how you get through it. If you're a darker skinned person, you're going to have to deal with XYZ. This is how you can get through it. If you're a female, and so on and so forth. If you're Jewish, if you're Protestant, if you're Israelite, like it doesn't matter what it is. You can succeed if you want to. But so many people waste so much time fighting over things that don't directly affect their life, don't directly affect their life, and that they can't change.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like people want to talk about abortion. As of right now, this moment, abortion is legal. So until they make it illegal, what are you fighting over? If you don't believe in abortion, don't get one. You know what I mean?
That's really interesting because my question is, I think that it's an important question to ask yourself along with emotional mastery. Okay, am I being played? Because they're trying to play us.
Yes.
You're being played. If you think it's all about race, you're wrong.
No,
it's not all about race. It's about integrity. It's about hard work. It's about who you are. And sometimes with emotional mastery, I have had to say, okay, exactly what you're saying, Robert. This doesn't affect me personally. It saddens me. What can I do to make a difference? If all I can do is go to the grocery store and say, that's a pretty blouse you're wearing, be kind to someone. That's one thing. But also, if you disagree with someone, you're not going to change their mind by burning down their business, by destroying your own community. That's not going to change their mind. Yes. So what's going to change your mind is politely trying to have a discussion. If that doesn't work, then walk away and take care of your own emotional mastery. You have to take care of your own psychological health too.
Yes.
And if you're getting all bunched up and disturbed by these things that are going on, which we all are, how could you not see this and not be disturbed by it? Then what can you do to make a difference? And that's one thing that I really appreciate you, Robert, is your positive message. You're staying strong to who you are in the face of adversity, in the face of all the Twitter trolls and the people who, what good are you doing by criticizing someone's physical appearance?
Yeah, exactly.
What good does that do?
Exactly. And you said the money sentence. What can you do? Like whenever people come to me with stuff, well, I got pulled over by the cops and they pushed me up against the car and blah. Oh, okay. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Like if you are you gonna launch a complaint against the officer? Or are you gonna say what are you gonna do? It's like just because something happened to you, I'm a root of the problem person. I'm like, why'd you get pulled over? Like, why'd you put yourself in a position to get pulled over? And then on a statement like that, people will come out, well, he just got pulled over because he was black. It's like, you can't just make blanket statements with no proof. No. With no proof. But you don't know if he was like, I had a cop behind me once. I pulled into my house and he kind of pulled up right by my driveway. And then I get out of the car. I was like, hello. And he says, oh, sorry. He says, you kind of fit the description of someone we were looking for. I said, oh, okay. Am I good? He's like, yeah, it's all right, thanks. And I went in the house. You know what I mean? Like, there was no reason to get all mad and say he profiled me and he this. And no, it's like that situation was cordial. It was cool. I'll probably never see that cop ever again.
Yes.
So it's like, why do you have to gaslight something that doesn't need it? When there's actual racist stuff happening, and then that stuff is going to get overlooked because everything is racist now.
Yes.
No matter,
Yeah.
Band-Aids. I just saw a thing on Band-Aids now. I'm sorry, but if I get a cut and I got blood pouring down my arm, I'm not going to stop and look for a brown Band-Aid. Like, that's some of the stupidest stuff I've ever heard.
Yeah, it really is. It
That's
is just
insane.
completely irrational. But I want to make a point about what you're saying about cops. We all know actual racism does exist.
Yes.
We all know that, and there are racist Black people against white people, and it exists.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have to make it worse? No. Okay, so for instance, this defund the police thing.
Yeah.
Let's say defund the dentists. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have an abscessed tooth and a tooth that is just throbbing out of your head, are you going to want to go to a dentist? Probably.
Yep.
There are bad police, there are bad dentists, there are bad doctors, there are bad lawyers. You can't defund everybody, and you're going to need a cop. If you get if a crime happens to you, who are you going to call? A social worker? I don't think so. Who are you going to call if you get broken into or robbed or raped or someone kills your child? Who are you going to call?
See, I want to expand on that because I think it was on my third show, we were discussing police brutality, and the gentleman that I had on, it was actually a decent debate because we were kind of on opposite sides of the spectrum there. But like, he grew up in Philadelphia. I grew up in rural Charlestown, Rhode Island. So it's like I had a very good rapport with our police officers. So that's why I said earlier, people are going to talk about their lived experience. So like, I'm not sitting here trying to minimize his lived experience. So
No.
If I got kind of assaulted by a police officer, I'd probably feel a certain way too. But that didn't happen to me. But anyways, he was explaining to me about what defund the police means. And I love it when I hear this stuff because people just regurgitate what they hear on TV and not actually look into what people are saying at these protests. So he says, no, he's like, no one's saying get rid of the police. He's like, it's about, allocating funds from here and moving it to mental health and into training. And I was like, I just watched the video the other day where the people were screaming, we are going to abolish the police. It's like, that's what they're saying in the streets. Here in Rhode Island, we had a protest. I didn't attend. I'm just saying we as the state had a protest outside of our former governor's house. She's down in the White House now, and they were demanding a 70% reduction in the Providence police force. You know what I mean? And it's like, crime is spiking out of control now. So why would you want to defund the police? And people say, well, the Black communities are over police. So like, but that's where all the crime is. Of course, that's where the cops are. The cops aren't going to go where there's no crime. Like, that just like when people say that and they say it with a straight face, it just makes me scratch my head. It's like, if we take away cops from an area that's overrun with crime, that hurts that community.
Yes, it does.
What I mean? That doesn't help that community. That means more houses are going to get broken into. The drug dealers are going to take over. The gangs are going to take over.
And that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's like more people are going to get hurt and or killed.
Yes.
So it's like that's an awful idea. Does the police need some reforming in the areas where these things are happening? Yes. It's like wherever there's a problem, you fix the problem, but you can't vilify everyone. Like I said, if someone in your family ends up in jail, that doesn't make you a criminal.
No, it doesn't. And if you think about this logically, which seems to be, speaking of lost art, I think logic is, but if you have a few bad persons in a profession, taking away the money to train those people to make them better at their job is completely counter to what needs to be done.
Yes.
If there's a person who doesn't handle policies correctly, if there's a person who takes too much authority and oversteps their bounds of their job description, you need to train them, retrain them, and if they don't get it, then get rid of them. weed them out, make them go away, make room for
Yep.
people who are going to do a good job with it.
You gotta
So-
have a higher standard to get
Yes.
into the police academy. Like
Yes.
start there, raise the bar. You know, like Stanford, they don't have the same admission requirements as the community college here in Rhode Island. You know what I mean? They have a higher bar. If you want to get in there, you have to be here. You know, so maybe raising the minimum standards and maybe make the training maybe 9 months, maybe a year. But
Yes.
now I believe it's 6. You know, and so a lot of these police officers don't have like, I don't want to say the formal education, because again, I can't put everyone into the same box, but a lot of police officers have minimal education.
Mhm.
And now you're putting them out there armed with a weapon, you know, and the power to take someone's life if things get out of control.
Yes. So that's exactly to my point, is they need more funds to educate them correctly, so that, you know, we're all human. Again, back to that. If you're
Yes.
if you're a police officer and someone pulls a gun on you, even though you're a police officer, you're still human. So that needs to be trained better if someone handles that inappropriately. Now, you know, again, there are bad doctors who botch surgeries, who kill people. Are you going to get rid of all the doctors because of a few bad apples?
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a societal problem. But what bothers me is that they're trying to make it about purely about race.
Yeah.
And why are they doing that? Are they trying to get us into a civil war? Are they trying to enforce martial law? Why? What is, my question is, what is their bottom line? What's the gist of this whole thing? What's their end game?
I gotcha. It's votes.
Yes.
It's votes.
And-
Like the Democratic Party needs a strong black turnout to win.
Yes.
You know,
they do.
whereas the Republicans have a big enough base to where they could win with minimal vote. I think when Trump won in 2016, he only had like 8% of the black vote, I want to say. And so the Democrats, they need like 90 plus to win. So it's almost like they stir up the drama and then try to be the savior.
Yes, they
So
do.
that they keep the votes.
They
Yes.
do, and that's why they're trying to tell the black culture that they are victims.
Yes.
Now, I say that because I'm part Native American, and you want to talk about victimization?
Mm.
Do some research into what this society has done to Native Americans.
Yeah.
You know, taking them from Cherokee, North Carolina, and most Native American tribes now are on reservations. Is there water? No. Is there air conditioning? No. Is there indoor plumbing on a lot of them? No. So if you're living in a city and you get food stamps and you have air conditioning and you have a place to live and opportunities to have scholarships, opportunities to get jobs, that's a little bit better than living on a reservation out in the middle of a desert with no water, no internet, no electricity. And that's the way some people still live.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not about race. It's about competence in a job. There are racial aspects to it, but I think they're oversimplifying it and just stoking that fire.
Yeah.
They really are, and it's not helping. And I don't think that's their goal is not to help. Their goal is to win and get power. Like
Exactly.
like you
Yeah,
said.
it's definitely not about the people, because things that are plaguing the people can be fixed with one executive order.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It can be done, but instead they're fixing all the political things that they want. So like whatever one side doesn't want, the other side's going to push for it, and vice versa.
Yes.
You know, like this whole thing with the voter suppression that's going on, voter suppression. And my answer to that is always, why is the bar so low for black people?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Why is it so low? You're trying to say, oh, I have to have an ID. That affects black people. I haven't met too many black people that don't have an ID.
Yes. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Or a
And-
copying machine access to.
Yes, it's like, you know, I'm sure you can get to the DMV if you need to.
Yeah.
You know, right? I'm sure. Okay, so you have to vote between these hours. you know what? The grocery store is only open a certain amount of hours. You know, so is that systemically racist too? That I can only shop between 9 and 7? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like
it-
everything is standardized, and wanting to put in cameras because like did they forget that during some of the counts people were blocking the windows? So what's wrong with having cameras until you can ensure that what's going on in there is legit? Like I don't see any suppression there at all.
no, no.
Not at all. That's my
It-
opinion. And if people want to comment on that, go ahead. But to me, it's like as a person of color, that's insulting that you think I can't adhere to those standards. It's
Yes.
absolutely insulting.
It is insulting, and I know some great Black people, and I don't like it when a certain faction of this culture, politics, tells them that they are held down simply because of that. I mean, I know some people have 2 master's degrees who came from very humble beginnings, and it's because they had the drive, the persistence, and the willingness to do the work.
Yeah.
And it's just like with me, I didn't come from a $1 million background. I had to work for the things that I did, work 3 jobs, like I mentioned. It's not
Yep.
that I'm a martyr. What I'm saying is you have to believe in that to make it happen, regardless of your skin color. There are
Yes.
exceptions who come from millionaire families. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the majority of us.
Yeah. See, and with that too, a lot of it's internalized, right? So
Mhm.
I was doing an interview with a woman. She's from Trinidad and Tobago. And so she, like, as we're talking, she says, you know, and we have it harder. Like, I was like, what do you mean we? She's like, you know, we people of color, we have it harder. I said, how so? And she's like, well, because we have to work twice as hard. I said, well, what does that mean? I said, what does that look like? Like, so if you can put a number on it, then you must be able to define it. I said, so what does that look like? And she says, well, I feel that when I go into a job interview, if there's a white person applying also, that they're going to have a better chance at getting the job. And I said, what was the key word in your response just now? And she's like, I said, you said feel.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you internalized that. You walked in and you defeated yourself. I said, because me, the way I'm wired, I walk into a room, because I grew up in a predominant white area. And I've ascended in everything I've done, whether it was athletics, whether it was working, getting awards, getting bonuses. Like I've excelled in everything because I would walk in that room. In my mind, they're all playing for second place because nobody's beating me. I'm gonna walk in that room and I'm gonna wow this hiring manager to where I am the undoubted best choice.
Good for you.
So-
that is awesome. You know,
Thank you.
feelings aren't facts.
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
you know, what you just said is exactly that point. You know, it's belief in yourself and going in there and not having the feeling of a less than, and that comes from emotional mastery. You know,
Yeah.
part of it is your mindset, and well, there you go.
Yeah, he used to work
Good
for me
comment.
years ago, back in the
Well-
restaurant industry.
As they say in the South, he's got a brain on him, so that's good.
You know, so all right, we got about a minute and a half left. So I want to ask you, when it comes directly to cancel culture, do you think it's a good thing or no?
I don't think it's healthy. No, I don't think it's good. It's not. They're not going about it in any kind of a logical, rational way. So no. Pepe Le Pew, man, learn satire and irony, and get a sense of humor.
Yes, absolutely. It's all about emotional control. That's it. So like my final word would just be that is to own your truth. Like no matter what side of the aisle you're on, if you're left, own it. If you're right, own it. If you're independent, own it. Like if you're gay, straight, white, black, like whatever, just own who you are, be who you are, and don't let anyone else mess with your opinion.
But one thing I'd like to add to that too is you're an American. So
yes,
we're all in this together.
Yeah.
You're an American If you don't like it, you can move. But we're an
Yeah.
American, so own it. You know, make this place better than the way you found it,
Exactly.
instead
See,
of being
like,
part of the problem.
and the Olympics are coming up. You know what I mean? It's like, and we have all races in there. You know,
Yes.
all races. It's like we're one nation.
Yes.
But we keep saying Black America and then White America and then
No, it's
Hispanic
one
America.
America.
Yeah, it's like it's just America. Are there different segments? Are there different cultures? Yeah, and people
Yes.
don't understand how amazing that is. You
Yes.
go to some other countries and you turn your back on the flag, they'll
Yeah.
arrest you, if
Yeah.
not worse. You know, it's
Well,
like
it's just-
at least here we have the freedom to be who we are.
See, the thing that missing the point on this, just say finally, is if you're a great athlete and you make it to the Olympics and you have that power, use your authority, your celebrity, your power to make things better rather than turning your back on the country that gave you that opportunity.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. It's like why would you
Good
ever
point,
do
Steve.
that? Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, Stephen. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that.
Thank
Really,
you,
really,
Andy.
yep. All right, Tracy. This was awesome. Awesome.
It really
thank you
was.
for joining
Thank
me.
you. Thank you for inviting me, Robert. Anytime, just let me know. I'd love to come back and talk with you.
Will
Thank
do.
you to your listeners. Thank you, everybody who made these great comments. Much
Yes.
appreciated.
Love it. All right. Have a great day.
All right, you too.
All right. Bye.
Make things better. To have a good day. Bye.
Yes. Bye. Oh, and one more comment over here says, go to Cuba and North Korea and turn your back on the flag. Exactly. Exactly. It's like people don't understand. You want to talk about privilege? We have the privilege of being American. Think about that. As bad as people say this country is, there are people lined up at the border to get here. There's people swimming through shark-infested waters to get here. And doing on my other show, I have international guests, and they say we just don't get it, how people don't love this country. I had an Israeli immigrant talk to me about growing up in Israel, and he came here with $1,000 in a dream. Maybe you've heard of it. He's now the CEO of the multi-million-dollar franchise Restoration 911, because he came in here and just went to work. He didn't worry about right wing, left wing. He didn't worry about black, white, any of that stuff. He came in and said, this is the land of opportunity, and he seized it. And that's the message that I put out to everyone out there now. Whatever it is you want to accomplish, don't wait for somebody to hand it to you, damn it. Go get it. Have yourselves a great day.